And with courage being the theme of the show today, I want to bring you to something that happened last week. Ron DeSantis signed a 6-week abortion ban in his home state of Florida. And of course, conservatives and people who actually like living human beings have celebrated everywhere, but that hasn't stopped the left and the Democrats from decrying this bill as fascist, I'm sure racist and somehow transphobic. But more importantly, Nikki Fried has come out to politicize yet another thing for her own personal gain and said that Republicans don't actually know what women want, which is, of course, hilarious because Democrats don't even know what a woman actually is. But I'll at least superficially agree with the left on this one that there are some problems with the bill. It's only not what they think the problems are. So first of all, it's not restricting enough because we should restrict any human being's rights to murder another human being, right? Because that's kind of not what the Constitution was for. But also, it doesn't acknowledge the actual science behind the issue of abortion, right? Because those who wish to go up to the third trimester and suggest that until the baby comes out of the magical vaginal canal, it's not really a baby, are running into consistent problems when they try to come up with the idea that religious conservatives are the ones who are trying to infuse their Bible and shove their religion down our throat when they tell us not to murder living human beings. Well, in a way you are correct. Thou shalt not murder is kind of a religious thing. But also, let's just also get scientific because the faith, it definitely coheres with the science yet again on this one. And that is that once you have brand new DNA, is you have a brand new human life, right? Now, I'm going to throw up for you kind of a representation of this on the screen here because I want to show you this because we need to face the facts and the reality on the ground of what we're actually looking at when we look at a baby in the womb. So you can use whatever euphemistic language you want. You can call it a fetus if you want, but the reality is this is what a baby looks like at 6 weeks. You've got a heartbeat, you've got ears forming, you've got arm buds and leg buds forming, and you even have the eye sockets coming through. So the question is why 6 weeks if this is a baby instead of 5 weeks, or instead of just banning abortion altogether? And it brings us back to the conversation that we have to have, which is where does a human life actually begin? Well, it begins scientifically when a new strand of DNA is formed. See, that thing growing inside of a woman's belly isn't a tumor like the left wants to suggest.
The thing in the uterus is not a baby. That's what I was trying to say. It's just a clump of cells. It's a tumor.
Last time I checked, I haven't seen tumors that emerge eventually once they get to the right size with the ability to think and to will and to act and to potentially change the world. No tumors to date have done such a thing, but babies have. Now, so part of the problem with the bill is that it's a 6-week ban on abortion rather than just a total ban on abortion. And then there is, of course, a caveat for rape and incest. This is nothing less than kind of a political nod to the more kind of centrist voters in the state of Florida to just say, hey, well, we'll make some exceptions in the case of incest. But again, we come back to this very fundamental question: when does life begin and what is actually a life? Because if we agree that life begins at conception, even if a baby is the byproduct of incest or a baby is the byproduct of rape, it doesn't give you the right to kill it. In fact, the person who is to blame by creating a baby as a result of rape is actually the rapist. And it doesn't mean that you get to charge the rapist and then also charge the baby with the death penalty. And so if we're going to have the kind of courage that is necessary on this issue to also have the courage to be intellectually honest, we're going to have to admit that a baby in the womb, use whatever euphemistic language you want. You can call it a fetus, you can call it a choice, but it's still a baby. And we need to have the courage to stand up for what is right, because there is also a price for doing what is wrong. But I'll just say this. Most importantly, although there are those issues with the bill, I will say the one thing that kept me from really jumping on the DeSantis bandwagon was just this very issue, because in his own home state, he didn't have rigorous enough laws against abortion. In fact, his state had just deferred to what was on the books before the overturning of Roe v. Wade, and it was only now that Ron DeSantis stepped up and decided to make a decisive action in this area. Now, for one, I am glad. I'm glad that he's a Christian standing up for moral principles, but I'm also glad that he's also a Christian standing up for moral principles because it is reasonable, logical, and protects another life. If the government is supposed to do anything, and I know this is going to fly in the face of some of my libertarians, but you guys can go back to just watching online online porn without restrictions whatsoever. For just a moment here, and just hold up and just let me make this argument to the others out there and just say, if the government is supposed to do anything, it is supposed to protect life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. It is supposed to ensure protection for its citizens. It's one of the most basic functions of the government. It's not an excuse for Joe Biden to go find ice cream. The basic role of government is to protect its citizens. And this is true of those in the womb and outside of the womb. Now, I will just give Ron some credit here, because him taking this step was actually not necessary from a political standpoint. See, Ron didn't necessarily need to do this. I don't think so. If he was just merely politicking, while there is politics in the bill, as I just illustrated with some of the concessions, while there is politics there, I also realize that Ron DeSantis potentially is going to announce any day now his run for president. And when he does so, this is something that's going to be held against him by the left. This is going to be yet more fuel, more fodder for the left to go after Ron DeSantis as a fascist right-wing loony. So he didn't have to do this, but he did it anyway, showing that he is a man of moral courage that is not just merely interested in politics, but is actually doing what is right for his constituents. And that, my friend, regardless of what you heard from Joy Reid or MSNBC or anybody else over at CNN, is something that you should take into account, even if you're on the left. Now, I might be delusional to believe that anybody up till this point in time is a leftist or a liberal and is still watching this show, but allow me to delude myself one step further and just say this, that if you really care about truth, then you should care about a candidate who is not putting politics before people. And this is exactly what this 6-week abortion ban does, is it puts people before politics. And for that, I say, I am grateful for Ron DeSantis for saving lives, but also I have to say this. It is an example of what true courage looks like in the present. So you just got done watching a small excerpt of a much larger episode. You can find the link to that full episode down below in the description of this video. So you definitely want to check that out, because if you like that clip, you'll like the much larger episode. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and click that little bell to be notified when great new episodes of Indie Thinker come your way. Thanks for watching.